Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to NerdPod Generations, episode 165. As always, I am one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the always lovely Al Judson. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies.
So, folks, this is going to be an interesting episode. So what we're doing, we're going to do our normal start, where we're going to talk about watch, play, read. Then you're going to get a straight from the theater, spoiler-free review of 28 years later,
yes,
which we did just see.
Yes.
And then after that little clip, you're going to get a spoiler review where we're going to go into some details on it. So that's just going to be the interesting layout of the show.
Yeah.
We do like to do fun shows like this, and if this is your first time listening to us, please go back and listen to our back catalog. We have 164 previous episodes of Pure Gold. And if you are looking to where to find us, if it's your first time finding us, or you have a friend that wants to know, go to nerdpodgen.com. There's a link on the main page to all of the, whatever the newest episode is, that'll take you right to Spotify. There are also links to the Spotify podcast site, the Apple podcast site, the YouTube site, which we do have a YouTube channel, NerdPod Generations. If you do go to I'm not even going to say if, when you go to our YouTube channel and our podcast site, make sure you are subscribing to the show, hitting the notification bell so you are known right away whenever one of our new shows go up, and they are awesome. That took a lot of breath out of me. Hi, man.
I was about to say, you got to do the whole call to action, baby bear. No, how's it going, friends and enemies? I got to
do it.
It's
in that I have that routine now.
Well, like, this is the thing. This is always the part that I struggle with.
Huh.
Every time I've tried to do anything like a podcast or a YouTube show, it has just been like, God, I hate doing call to action.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
I'll be honest, I kind of like it now.
Yeah.
I got it down so well that I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's our thing. It's our niche.
Oh, it reminds me of it reminds me of going to school as a cinema studies major.
Yeah.
And being like, I gotta go to class at 10 a.m. and watch a movie.
My life sucks.
It's terrible. I gotta sit here and tell people, pay attention to me. I pay attention. It's also why I would never be able to be a busker or a bum, is because I would never be able to do like hey, can anybody help? I'm terrible about asking for help.
And you wouldn't be a good bum because you have to learn how to just drop your pants wherever and poop on the sidewalk.
Yeah, no, I would.
You don't want to do that. I mean, you came from New York City, so you've probably seen that more times than.
Dude, I had an elevator where there was a guy that just that was just where he went to pee.
Oh, nice.
It's just a standing puddle of pee that you would always find in the elevator.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
New York City, the Bronx.
All right, so everyone, we do start each episode with what you've been watching, playing, reading. I am going to start just because I just came back from a weekend trip for a friend of mine's 50th birthday party. And the location is something that I've wanted to talk about.
Yes.
And kind of what we did.
I heard you went camping.
So we went camping, which I'm not a camper. I did all that stuff in the military. I'm done with it. Give me a hotel room. Give me a shower. That's my camping.
As I told you on our way to the movie when you were like, yeah, I just went camping. I was like, why?
Yeah, no, but the silver lining of this, we were at Silver Lake in Blairstown, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Silver Lake was where they filmed the first Friday the 13th. So we were right on the banks of Silver Lake, and when I looked out, it is not changed since the first Friday the 13th. The landscape is exactly the same.
Oh.
And it's, for those of you who are unaware, it's the best description of it is what I was looking out at is what the camera was looking out when she was at the boat at the end and Jason comes out of the water and drags her under. That's what I was staring at.
Look at you.
Yeah. So that made it cool.
So definitely no tent then.
No, definitely no tent. But being in Blairstown, the diner from the first movie is right around the corner from where we are. A lot of the landmarks. So everything is like, this is Friday the 13th. So that made it kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. And it freaked me out once they told me, because then I just kept staring at the lake.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, this really is the fucking lake from that movie.
That is a fun fun birthday thing to do.
It really is.
Especially for a guy turning 50, that's pretty perfect.
My friend who turned 50, one of his friends who was there is like the caretaker for that area. He's like the property manager. And so they always camp there. But I didn't realize this is where it was until they told, because I showed up in the middle of the night pretty much. It was pitch black.
Yeah.
So it was the next morning somebody told me, and I looked out. I was like, oh my fucking... And I kind of stopped thinking.
To not know until the next morning.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So none of the camping stories are really, really worthwhile. But somebody did bring a portable projector. So the first night, I got there right at the Indianapolis speech. They were watching Jaws on the big screen right by the lake because it is the 50th anniversary of Jaws.
See, this was going to be my watch, play, read. Was I also just watched Jaws?
Well, then I'm going to hold Jaws. We'll talk about that. But
yeah.
Then last night, now mind you, I only made it through up to a certain point of this movie, but it's been a little while. The movie of the night last night was Pulp Fiction. I had to get to sleep. We didn't start until late, so I only made it just past the Vincent Vega. So I made it just past Christopher Walken, his scene.
Yes.
With the watch.
Yes.
I gotta say, that movie fucking ages like a fine wine. It is so, like, just listening to the interactions and the way they speak and that's such a perfect movie.
Yeah. And it's like, there is definitely an element of, like, I always refer to it as the nostalgia quotient. There's an element of the nostalgia quotient that, you blips when it comes to Pulp Fiction. But at the same time, I fully agree. It is just such a good movie. It doesn't feel old. It also benefits from being kind of it takes place in 1994 because that's when it came out. But it also, as a result, feels kind of like a period piece in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because it's so of its time.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I'm curious. I have known about this, but when we were watching the beginning of the movie, my friend, who is as big a movie fanatic as I know and has seen this movie a million times, did not know in the beginning when they're sitting at the table having the conversation, Honey Bunny and I can't think of his name.
What does she call him? It's Tim Roth, but I can't
it's Lola, and I'm trying to think of when Jules is talking to him at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, when they're discussing why they need to stop robbing banks and start robbing coffee shops.
Yeah.
As he's talking, it pans to her, and in the background you see John Travolta walking to the bathroom.
Yeah.
With the book in his hand.
Yeah.
And my friend, who has seen it a million times, goes, I never fucking noticed that. I'm like, I'll have to admit, I knew of it. It had been a while since I saw the movie, so even it caught me off guard at first. But I'm like, I have seen that before. But it was funny, and it makes me wonder how many people don't realize that.
Well, like, there's so many things, though. That's one of the great things about Pulp Fiction, but a lot of movies in general that are of that level.
Yeah.
Is how many things you can kind of just delve through and find, especially when you watch it multiple times.
Yeah.
Where, I love a movie where every time I watch it, there's something new that I'm seeing that I didn't notice before. It's Pumpkin. Pumpkin is...
Well, yeah,
Pumpkin is Tim Roth's character. Pumpkin and Honey Bunny.
Yeah, but I know her name is Yolanda.
Oh.
And, like, what his actual... Yeah, it just says Pumpkin in the IMDb credits. But yeah, because it's Yolanda, and I think his name is said... I just can't think of it.
I have no idea. I haven't seen it recently enough.
But it's... Yeah, so it made me... I'm going to try to watch the full thing sometime in the near future, just because I was so in love with it all over. The music, the timing of the music, everything was just perfection.
Yeah.
And it makes me really... it's number 2 on my list for what is my favorite movie of all time. I still hold it to that, but it easily could be number 1. Like, it's that good a fucking movie.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I I love this movie so much. I just because you met me before I had seen it.
Yes.
Because there was a when you met me, I was a good little Christian boy.
And then I corrupted the shit out of it.
Yes. One of many people who saw me as a pinata and was like, ooh, there's candy to be found here if I just break it open a little bit.
Not sexual.
No, just, breaking in like a pair of shoes. I remember watching this for the first time, and when Marvin gets shot in the face, that is just such an iconic moment in my mind. And so I just love everything about, like, the dialogue of the movie is so crisp. Mm-hmm. The whole, I just think of, like, the scene where they're walking into the apartment building.
Yes.
To bust in. Like, everybody loves the scene of, like, this is a tasty burger. Like, honestly, that's one of those lines that I think of, and it makes me want to have a burger of any kind.
Yeah.
And especially when I do end up getting, like, a really gnarly, especially like a Burger King burger or something. Which, like, I had a gnarly Burger King chicken sandwich on our last trip. Ooh. Not good. But anyway, that's the line that always goes through my mind. This is a tasty burger. Mm-hmm. Tom Walls. Every time I go to Tom Walls.
Gotcha.
I love when they're just walking up in the hallway.
Yeah.
And they're just discussing
the foot massage.
The life of their boss and the various other henchmen in the boss's line and what happens to them. Yep. And, like, that scene alone. The stuff with, is it Eric Stoltz?
Yes. Oh, my God.
It's like he's...
Him and Patricia Arquette, that whole interaction that they have, it is so fucking good.
It's so good. And, like, I love... There's something about... I'm a nerd, and I'm dyslexic. Quentin Tarantino is a nerd and is dyslexic. Mm. There's something about apartments and houses of the nerd and the nerd characters that the lead of these movies. I'm thinking of Eric Stoltz. I'm thinking of Quentin Tarantino himself in this movie when you go to his house. I'm especially thinking of Tim Roth in Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
When you see his apartment in that movie. Of just, like, there are these little nerd havens. And there's just something about it. I see it, I'm like, oh, that's my house. Yeah. I can see my house from here. Yeah. It's there. It's right there.
No, it is. It's just spectacular.
Yeah.
So for those of you who have not seen it in a while or have never seen it, please watch Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the things that there's two thoughts that I have that I want to ask while we're talking about Pulp Fiction, because we're talking about Pulp Fiction. Did you get to the Bruce Willis stuff or no?
I checked out right as he was getting in the cab after he killed the other boxer.
Okay. How do you feel about that scene?
I love it. I know a lot of people think the Bruce Willis vignette is the weakest.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. I think it's not his best acting. To me, his best acting was in 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
But it is one of his best filmed roles.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't have to say too much, but he's just very expressive. And
yeah.
Were you talking about the fight? And, like, I know sometimes people wanted to see that, like, Matt Dillon wanted the fight, and that's why he turned down the role.
I'm thinking of specifically, like, this the whole arc of it. There's this element of, I feel like there's a lull to it, and weirdly, it's the lull where Vincent Vega dies. I feel like it's kind of like, so I feel like you have this hype moment of this boxer, and then you see when he gets the call to throw the fight, you see Vincent and I'm blanking on Jules.
Yes.
Come in and get the job while that's happening. And then you see him not blow the fight and decide to run. And then he has to go back for this watch, right? The story. I feel like that element of when he leaves to get his dad's watch all the way through to Ving Rhames almost running him over. Mm-hmm. Or I guess actually running him over.
No, he runs Ving Rhames over.
Or, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that is the moment it picks up again. But even that moment after he kills Vincent Vega and everything, I'm just like, I don't know. This feels like he goes in and he makes the Pop-Tarts and everything. I'm just like, all right. I thought we were in a hurry. What's going on?
But that's what I love about it. It's a very Tarantino thing where he's like, Bruce Willis isn't that smart a guy, his character, and so he gets there and no one's there, and he's like, fuck, it must be okay. I'm going to make a Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
And then there's a Mac-10 sitting on the counter.
Yeah.
And Vincent Vega also is not the brightest guy in the world.
Also
so
true.
he leaves his gun on the counter of the apartment of the guy he's going to kill.
Yeah.
And then goes and takes a shit.
Yeah. And he's reading his book.
And he's reading his book. And you're like, oh. See, that to me, that's more of like the down character stuff that he does.
Yeah.
Like, kind of the same thing in the beginning. I know just the introduction of Esmeralda was the cab driver. I think that was her name. It was something like that.
Something like that.
She's so mysterious and very weird.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing like he's like, I just want to inject just interesting characters.
Yeah.
Even if they're on screen for 1 minute.
Yeah.
You'll never hear another word about these people.
It feels like it becomes important once Marcellus Wallace enters it.
Yes.
And until then you're just kind of like, okay.
And what I like about the part with Marcellus Wallace is this whole vignette, including the killing of John Travolta, is more mellow.
Yes.
And then they're like, okay.
And then it ramps up very quickly.
We're going to give you the most fucked up part of the movie now.
You're like, there was this shootout, but it was kind of like this quiet shootout.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Willis is like, wow, made it out. Cool. I'm going to go. And then all hell breaks loose. So it's funny because I'm trying so hard not to conflate this moment with the parodied moment in The Simpsons where it's Chief Wiggum walking with a box of donuts across the road and Snake runs him over. And because that's all I can think is like Ving Rhames wasn't carrying a box of donuts, right?
And a fun little trivia thing, he is singing a song in the car about smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo.
Yes.
And then shortly after Pulp Fiction, they made Die Hard with a Vengeance with Samuel L. Jackson. And when Samuel L. Jackson asks him, what have you been doing on your suspension?
Watching Captain Kangaroo.
Smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. He actually uses the line.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the best fucking... Which, I know I get shit on all the time for this. That's my favorite Die Hard movie.
Honestly, it is by far the best non-Die Hard movie. Let me put it this way. It's kind of like Star Wars, where you have the original.
Yes.
And you kind of have to be like, well, the original set the tone for everything. So whether or not you like anything that comes afterwards, you have to at least pay homage to the original. And then you get Die Hard is kind of like, the big one. They got it right the first time. And then you get Die Hard 2, which I think is a significant step down. It's not a bad movie.
No. It has its moments.
Once it has the turn, it's a great turn.
Yes.
Especially because the entire time before the turn, you're like, what the fuck is up with the tape? What's going on with the fucking tape?
Yeah.
So once you get to the turn, it's great. But it's not Die Hard. And it tries really hard to specifically be Die Hard. Die Hard with a Vengeance tries to be like the next chapter of Die Hard without trying to be Die Hard.
Yes.
And I really love it for that.
It's so
every moment, like especially like things that other Die Hards don't have. I really love his cops, the cops that he works with. In this, where they're going around trying to solve this bomb crisis, and they have to go to this school, and there's this whole thing about it. Of like a side story, I've been thinking about I want to watch and review Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
And talk about it at some point because I have a lot of thoughts and they've just been stirring in my head recently. That has a lot of stupid, useless side stuff.
Yes.
That takes up time and you're like, what the fuck are we fucking doing? This has those moments where you're like, okay, why? But it's basically this very entertaining way to see the ticking bomb.
Yes,
as you're watching the fuse go through the theoretical story until you actually get to the timer showing you just how much time there is left. And the way that it does that as a story beat, and it's so great because it's also at the same time there's this great fake out involving Yankee Stadium.
Pancake syrup.
And I just... God, it's one of my favorite movies. In
the
really same way that like I have to watch it. I have to watch Die Hard at Christmas time. I have to watch Die Hard with a Vengeance during the hottest day of the summer. You have to.
And it has some of the best lines of any movie. Like there are some lines I still to this day know it's coming and I'll still laugh my ass off.
Oh yeah.
Like when the kids run into them and they're stealing stuff. And Bruce Willis goes, "What are you stealing?" The kid's like, "It's like Christmas." And then they steal their bikes, and as they're riding away, Samuel L. Jackson goes, "Well, it's Christmas."
Yeah.
Like, I die every time.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Well, like, my favorite thing is, like again, in terms of being a Die Hard movie, the way that I always say Die Hard is a Christmas movie, the thing that I always point to when I say, hey, people who are like, how is it? Look at the music in Die Hard.
Yes.
The music in Die Hard makes it a Christmas movie.
Yes, exactly.
The fact that it uses Christmas music as such a vignette element to the score itself.
Yes.
Not just like people caroling apart from, but like there are Christmas song elements in the score of the movie itself, and they're illusions, elements, whatever you want, motifs to be,
I mean, the big
fancy.
finale kiss going into the credits, Christmas music.
Yeah. So, like, it is clearly a Christmas movie because not only is it just, like, it's not just set at a Christmas party, but, like, the entirety of the structure of the film makes it a Christmas movie.
I agree.
I love that they do that here without having to do a Christmas thing, where they have the ants go marching in as this continuous vignette that plays whenever there's something fishy going on. Something hinky's happening. And then so when you have the explosion in the FIDI, in the financial district, it starts playing while all the cops are leaving. You're like, okay. And then this big dump truck driven by this big German comes by, and you're like, okay. What's happening? And suddenly this movie where you have been so rapidly attentive to this one or I guess these two figures and the story going on around them, suddenly it's like, okay, they're going to go off and do a thing. And you're like, wait, but like we haven't not been apart from them. And it's like when your parents go off and leave you alone at like a family gathering, and you're like, wait, no, don't go.
Yeah, don't go, please.
Don't go.
Save me. Don't leave me.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And what did you know? Something's going to happen.
So, yeah, so it was a great weekend.
Yeah.
So that's all I got for that. What do you got, my friend?
While we're talking about old summer movies that make us nostalgic as hell, let's get back to Jaws.
Yes.
Because it is the 50th anniversary. I made you stop after we finished at the movie, not just because I had to use the bathroom and you did too, but also because I had to buy a Jaws popcorn bucket.
Very expensive Jaws popcorn bucket. It is a cool bucket.
We're not gonna talk.
I didn't hear
We're not
anything.
gonna talk about it.
I don't know what you're talking about. It was $15.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a cool 20.
Yeah, cool $20.
Yeah.
No, it was. It's a hell of a popcorn bucket.
Yeah. But anyway, I love Jaws. Rewatching it recently, I think part of the mythology of Jaws for me is the fact that I haven't seen any of the sequels, and so I can just be like, "Oh God, Jaws." It's beautiful and perfect. And then you hear all the memes about it and Kevin Smith movies and whatever. And you're like, oh, good. So I don't need to see it. Great. And so I never have. And as the result, you're just kind of like, oh, yay. Jaws, it's like almost a perfect movie.
Yeah.
The way that all the characters interact with each other. Oh, it's so good. You know, you have like modern issues. There's one female. Well, I guess no. There are a few female characters.
Just a couple.
There's a few, but like they aren't. I wouldn't call any of them leads aside from maybe Mrs. Brody.
But even her, she has. I mean, she's not a lead.
She's there to worry about Martin Brody.
Yeah,
that's what her role is.
Give
in the
him a
movie.
back massage.
But you do get some business owners, and you get a few grieving mothers, and of course one corpse. So, and there's plenty of women seen, just not heard throughout the movie. Anyway, has these modern issues, right?
Yes.
Of like, but if you put it in the guise of what, this is 73, 74, something like that.
I think so. It's in that range.
God, this movie is so good and so hugely influential of everything to come on many fronts. Because it's a great movie.
75.
Which
makes sense. 50.
Yeah. I can't math, can I?
No, you can't.
I'm bad at math. First off, in terms of like narratively, people have seen this movie and been like, oh God, it's so good. I want to make a movie like that. You know, and then they find their own vision that, has that appeal. And then you get like a billion movies that have that same kind of feel, whether they be shark movies or not, is irrespective of that.
You sounded like a pirate there.
Yeah.
Whether they be shark movies or not.
Irrespective.
Grr.
But also in terms of movie studios being like, we gotta go fishing, baby. The thing that happened that I learned from Jaws is you go fishing for the big fish. That was the lesson I took away from it. And ever since Jaws, it's just every summer is just big studios going out fishing, being like, look at our lure, look at our lure, look at our lure. Which is not incidentally what we're talking about today on multiple fronts. But I love Jaws. It is one of those movies that might be a perfect movie. You try and sit here and think of like, what's wrong with it? And you're like,
it's a perfect movie by accident.
Yeah.
Because what I noticed yesterday.
Absolutely.
The scenes with the shark where you see the shark have not aged well.
I think that they're fine, but I agree you do have to watch them in the context of the era.
But since the shark didn't work and they had to film just from different perspectives, I think that helped.
Yeah.
Because once again, special effects on the shark aren't spectacular, but the acting is so fucking good.
Well, like we were talking about Jason Voorhees.
Yes.
We saw a trailer for The Black Phone 2, or as I called it, Freddy Voorhees Rises Again. It's like, what if we had Jason and Freddy and it was played by Ethan Hawke?
Yeah, let's do it. With a goat mask.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to get to goat masks later, too.
Oh, my God.
This movie is, it's a slasher movie, but all the slashing happens in broad daylight.
Yes.
And so it's shot like a slasher movie of like, here comes the monster. It's about to get you. Incidentally, we also saw the trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Reboot / 9, whatever it is. I don't know
how they got Freddie Prinze out of Mouthballs.
They got Freddie Prinze.
He doesn't even act anymore.
I mean, he does some voice acting. He
just does voice acting.
He does a lot of voice acting for Star Wars, which he's very good at.
Yeah, he is very good.
I mean, he just plays like the heroic prince character, but like now he gets to play like the 40-year-old heroic prince character who's like married and has a family.
And other than his gray hair, he doesn't look like he's aged very much. Like he's good for you, Freddie Prinze Jr.
And I mean, while we're talking about it, it looked good until it didn't.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's one of these,
and then it immediately like there was just a fallout to it, and you were just like, oh. Well, I was about to say that this looked good, and then you did that, and I'm like, well, now I don't think this looks very good.
Especially all you had to do was take Jennifer Love Hewitt out, put Jamie Lee Curtis in there, and switch the killer with Mike Myers. It's like that's
what it is.
Word for word dialogue.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh,
that's exactly what it is, and you're just like, okay, all right. Have we figured out the lore of this, or like in terms of LORE lore of this? Anyway, Jaws is a great slasher movie.
Great slasher
because you see everything from the villain, the monster's perspective, and then just blood everywhere. But instead of it being like in a forest, or it only happens at night, or it happens in your dreams, this is just like broad fucking daylight. Mm-hmm. And it's just like you're having fun, you're enjoying your day. And you're just like, where the fuck did that come from? Mm-hmm. Get out of the water. Everybody get out of the water. This movie will still make you question whether you want to go swimming in the ocean.
Yeah, I still don't want
to this day.
Yeah.
I love sharks. I know I get it. I've sat through Shark Week for 37 years of my life now. There's been Shark Week going on, I think. Pretty much the entirety of my life there's been Shark Week. I at the same time, this is terrifying, but like there's elements of this that I hadn't really considered. Like, I always forget just how close to shore they really get the boat.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not just like by the end they floated kind of inward towards shore. The boat almost makes it.
Yes, it gets really close.
And I don't know whether it's Quinn being afraid, like genuinely afraid, and that's why he won't turn off the engine. Maybe that's it.
I got that vibe too. That it's actually fear driving him to
he
push
won't.
it.
That's why he's singing to himself.
Yeah.
It's not him trying to make himself feel courage. He is afraid.
Yep.
And everybody's like, you gotta cut the engines down. He's like, no, I will not die this way. And then he's gonna, well, I got bad news for you on that one, friend.
Yeah.
But like it's such a great character piece. All three of those characters are so fascinating in terms of like you meet Brody, and this is always the movie I think of when I think of Roy Scheider. Every time. I can't think of, like, I saw him in Marathon Man. I was like, Martin Brody.
See, it's weird to me. A movie that I don't necessarily love is the one I think of him, and that's 2010.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know why. I don't know if it was, I think it was one of the first, I mean, I had seen Jaws, but it's like one of the first Roy Scheider movies I remember.
Yeah.
Like, everything about.
Yeah.
So I just automatically put him in that.
Yeah, no. I still haven't seen 2001, so...
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been putting that off for a long time. I made it all the way through 2 film schools.
Yeah.
And every nerd being like, you gotta watch it, and me being like, I have to. I've seen the special effects. Do I have to sit through the boring robot movie too? Because I've seen all the good parts. Do I have to sit through the whole thing?
You don't have to. You should.
Yes, this is the thing. This is always the thing. Is that it's always important to actually do it, which is why I don't say that I've seen movies unless I've seen most of them. Mm-hmm. Even if I've only seen a little bit, I'm like, well, I didn't actually really watch it.
Yeah.
Or, like, my favorite is, like, I've seen it in that I watched it on cable TV, so there were parts edited out.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch the whole thing in one sitting. I came in, like, halfway through. So, like, because that was how I'd watched 28 Days Later previously. It was, like, kind of, like, edited for television. Much better movie watched as God intended.
Yes.
Anyway, Jaws.
Yes.
That's the movie I'm supposed to be talking about.
Back to our tangent.
I'm trying so hard.
I know, we keep...
The octopus is pulling me
under. It's a very tangent-heavy episode so far.
I love... This is the movie that makes me so sad Richard Dreyfuss is the person he is now. Yeah. Because I love him in this movie so much. Matt Hooper is maybe one of my favorite characters in cinema. Character. He's so great. And every time I watch him, I see something new. Where it's like when he gets to the island and he's just kind of looking around and he's like, these guys are going to die. Mm-hmm. But just like the way that he is compelled. Like he is terrified. And he shows his fear all the time of science, not just of the shark. I'm thinking of the autopsy scene where he's like sitting there and he's like shaking and he's asking for water and he's doing the whole autopsy and he is just terrified in part because of what he's seeing in terms of the shark, but also just the whole of like the science of it all, the trauma of the science. Of seeing the dead body torn apart by nature and knowing the science behind it and seeing the science element of it as like, this is nature, this is biology, this is what this is what this is. And, you know, at the same time as he's terrified by it, he can't look away. It's the most fascinating thing in the world.
And then he's ballsy enough to get in the cage knowing...
Well, he goes out swimming without the cage. He's just like, oh, there's a boat. It looks like it had a shark attack. It's probably not around here, but it might be around here. I just said 5 minutes ago it's probably around here. Hit the lights. I want to go look. What the fuck are you talking... And so, like, he has these moments where he shows his fear, and he just gets over it.
Yeah.
He cannot stop himself from being drawn to... the science, the mystery, the biology, the whole of everything that's happening. And he just can't walk away from it. To the point where once he sees, you know, what's going on with his own eyes, he calls Australia and he's like, why would I go there when I got one right here?
Yeah, exactly. And I got to give him credit. I mean, he had I wanted to double check the dates. He went right from this to Close Encounter. So he had a Spielberg 1-2 punch that was dynamite.
Yeah. But, no, I just love his character in this. Like the responses he has. I love this is gonna sound terrible, and I'm gonna put it in the best light I can. But I do love the male bonding aspect of them at night.
Oh yeah.
When they're comparing scars. And like how that all goes, where they're sitting around the table and you keep on Quint keeps giving these tests out to see if anybody's going to pass them. So they go to charter him as a, captain, I guess. And he hands Brody this drink that he's made, my own batch. And Martin sniffs it and gives a sip, and he hands it to Hooper. He's like, don't drink that. And before Hooper addresses Shaw, he does the shot. And then he doesn't cough or anything. He kind of does one of those, Mr. Shaw, or, Mr. Quint. And, he passes the test, sight unseen. And his relationship with Quint and how there's this give and take back and forth between the two of them of, Quint being like, you're not a real man. And him being like, what test do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I'll do it. You want me to tie a knot? Fine. This is stupid and childish. Let me tie this knot and show you. Oh, you don't have rough hands. Fuck you. What do you want me to do, man? I know what I need to know. And even if I've never experienced it in the way that you have, I'm not going to back down either.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great character.
Oh, absolutely.
That really holds the film together, because if it was just Brody being like, I'm in over my skis on this, it would not have this feeling of like, let's keep going. Instead, you have Hooper being like, no, we're going, because I'm going and I'm bringing you with me. And Brody's like, as long as he's there, I'm going. There were a bunch of trailers at the movie that we just watched to talk about. Specifically, I'm thinking of the new Naked Gun trailer, which shows the only thing I had to say about it was that it shows that it's like this action movie, which is why they have Liam Neeson as the lead in it, is because it's the joke is that it's him from Taken, and it's fine.
It's unfortunately, I think this genre is a genre that's
dead.
from the 80s. Yeah, it's dead.
I was looking at it and I was like, you have Frankenstein this thing back to life.
Yeah.
I don't know if this kind of joke is gonna work anymore.
That's what I'm worried about. But there are little sight gag things that made me snicker in this. Like when he's driving the car and somebody just hands him a cup of coffee as the car's driving.
Yeah.
That was funny. And little things like that. But then I'm looking at it as a whole and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be strong enough to
support
rebooting this.
It's just it reminds me of first off, I think I'm glad Pam Anderson is in it. I think that's an interesting choice, but I also think that's a very direct choice. And it's not just hey, Pam Anderson is having a resurgence. I think there's a very real reason why they cast her in that movie. In the same way that there's a very real reason why they cast Liam Neeson in that movie. Yeah. But I just saw the shot of the guy watching them with infrared goggles, and it looks like she's giving him a blowjob.
Yes.
I'm just yep, that's what this whole movie is. Yeah. That's the entire movie.
You took Austin Powers' #1 gag and put it into Naked Gun.
And it's just that's what the entire movie is going to be is double entendres. Yep. Things like that. They have a new poster out that's this poster wasn't made with AI. And his hand is all fucked up, and all, the gag is that it looks like it was made with AI. Maybe it even was made with AI. Who the fuck knows? But as a person who's never seen any of the Naked Gun movies in full, again, something I've seen parts of on cable, this doesn't make me want to catch up on old times and then see this in theaters.
Yeah, and that's the other problem is for people like me who not only grew up with the Naked Gun movies, but also watched Police Squad when it was an actual TV show. It's just, you didn't need to do it.
Yeah. There was the one joke I really liked. I looked at it, I was like, that's a good joke. Was because they showed the O.J. Simpson joke again. Yeah. And it's just nope, you showed it to us last time. Cool. The precinct being replaced with a Spirit Halloween. Yeah. That was great. That was the one bit where I was like, that's fucking funny.
That is fucking funny.
That's fucking great. But every other moment in that, I was just like, okay. Yeah. I think even you don't really have anything here.
And it's they got to understand, and it's the same problem they had with the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. It's not the character that you can't replace. It's the actor you can't replace. So you're trying to replace the iconic Frank Drebin with Liam Neeson. And it's you can't do it, man. That's why these, you tried to replace Freddy Krueger. It's like, but Freddy Krueger isn't what made it special. It's Robert Englund that made it special.
Yeah, there's other elements. Like they brought in a great actor to replace him, whose name is escaping me.
Oh,
Rorschach. Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah.
And even then, like, you have this actor who's way better, and yet you're kind of like, well, this isn't really anything, is it? Yeah. One of the other movies I wanted to talk about was the Austin Butler Zoe Kravitz movie that we saw the trailer for, called Caught Stealing.
The Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah. That looked really good.
Looks really good.
That looked really good.
And I'll be honest, not the biggest Austin Butler fan. I did like him Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it was very short.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's weird. It's like we're getting more of these atmospheric pseudo indie movies now.
Yeah.
Because we saw this one, and then there was the Coen Brother trailer.
Yeah.
The one that we already had talked about a couple shows ago.
Yeah.
With Chris Evans.
Honey Don't.
And it's like it seems like we're getting more of these movies, which is a good thing, as long as they don't become mainstream and then get overblown budgets. And
yeah, exactly.
Because the feeling needs to be there, like this movie that we're going to be talking about 28 years later.
Yeah.
It felt like it didn't have a big budget.
Yeah.
It felt like an indie movie that didn't have a big budget.
I was going to say, it looked like, I mean this in a good, positive way, it looked like an off-brand Quentin Tarantino movie. It looked like a movie where they really wanted it to be a Quentin Tarantino movie without it being a Quentin Tarantino movie. Mm-hmm. Going back to how Pulp Fiction feels like it's from 1994 because it is. This felt like it was from 1994 because story beat elements. It helps to not be able to have phones, which is great. But also just like I think it was part of the aesthetic that they were choosing for the film itself. Mm-hmm. And so no, I was actually genuinely impressed. I saw this and I was like,
Yeah, and I hadn't heard this movie and the Stephen King one we saw.
That was the other one.
I had not even heard about those two movies.
No. I'd seen the trailer for this drop, but again, I saw, similar to you, I don't really have anything for Austin Butler. I know people like him, but I also like, cool.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine. He's better than other off-brand white men like Jai Courtney or Jason Clarke.
Oh, yeah.
But he has the danger of maybe falling into that gap if he doesn't have like a truly signature kind of feel to him.
I can see that.
But his signature feel to him seems to be becoming gritty crime movies that could also get your mom in the theater.
Yeah.
It's Elvis. Yeah. But I saw this and I was like, I kind of really love this. Yeah. This looks great. This looks like so much fun.
I am intrigued. And I love Zoe Kravitz. I think she's awesome.
Yeah. She's always good and everything. I think I actually did finish the version of it's the John Cusack movie where he's reviewing his exes.
Oh, High Fidelity?
High Fidelity. I think I finished her version of High Fidelity. I don't remember, which is kind of my full-on review of it. Was like, it was good. I don't know if I finished it. That's my review of her High Fidelity. But it was good. She was really good in it. And she was very charming in that role.
See, I won't watch it because you can't improve upon High Fidelity.
Yeah, it's perfect.
To me, it's like that's blasphemy to remake it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. It was one of those Hulu movies and shows that came out.
Yeah.
Where they were like, we're a streaming service. And then they got bought in part by a bunch of different corporations. And then Disney was like, you know what? We're just gonna take this. We're just gonna take this whole thing.
Tag, you're it.
Yeah. I did want to talk about The Walk. I think it was called The Walk.
It's like The Walk or The Long Walk or something like that.
And that looks like classic Stephen King.
It does. It's like a Hunger Games-y Stephen
King. To the point where the guy who's directing it directed a bunch of Hunger Game movies.
Yeah. But like the guys in this movie going off the trailer volunteer.
Yeah. Well, like, so it seems really interesting because I can't tell the full context of it. But from what I'm seeing in the trailer, which, it looks like it's a bunch of kids in the 50s who have an option to make a lot of money by doing this thing for the military. And it's a tradition that people are aware of and is a big deal. And so people know what they're getting involved in. But it's basically just like you start walking down this road. I'm guessing in Maine, and you keep walking until you run out of road. And the military is walking there with you or I guess riding there with you, kind of like a Tour de France brigade of cars. And if you slow down or stop for a certain amount of time, they kill you.
Yeah.
And it's
whoever 3 seconds or something like that.
Whoever lasts the longest wins. And there were just so many elements of it that I found fascinating.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, it seems like it's set in, the 50s, 60s era America that you're used to with Stephen King. The aesthetic of it feels like Shawshank Redemption or any number of other really good Stephen King things that are like, The Shining is great, but it doesn't have the same aesthetic as other Stephen King things. This is like the good Stephen King. It reminds me of It 2017, where it's like, that shade, if you painted that shade in a room, it'd be like, oh, that's shade of Stephen King.
Yeah.
That shade is called Stephen King. And you're like, oh, yeah, it is. This is a lovely shade of Stephen King, isn't it? And I'm kind of looking forward to this. This also feels like The Mist to me.
And I'll be honest, the reason I think I really dig it, there are no big name actors.
No.
It's literally them walking down a road, so I don't see like a huge budget here.
No, it's literally they just have to keep going.
Yeah.
They don't get to stop for food or water.
Nope.
They just keep going and see who lasts the longest. So like one kid dies because he gets a cramp.
Oh, dude.
And it's just
that one was rough.
It's just like it reminds me a lot of The Mist, of just like
I could see that.
I kind of want to see what happens. I kind of want to see what happens when this goes down. So
that is, I thought so. So the major on the truck who's yelling at them and telling them, I'm like, that voice sounds familiar. It's Mark Hamill.
Really?
Mark Hamill's the general.
I didn't even notice.
Driving behind them. Like,
wow.
He has a lot of, like, I think he has a beard and they have, like, sunglasses on. But when I was listening to the voice, I'm like, God damn, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Fucking Mark Hamill.
Wow.
I know. That makes it even more. It's like, okay.
So the militarized Joker has taken these men and been like, where's Batman? We need Batman to come along and be like, you've taken these men. You're like, I'm going to pay whoever lasts the longest, and I'm going to make you walk for however long you can. It would
have to be Kevin Conroy's Batman. And
it ain't happening.
Yeah.
No, but those were the trailers I wanted to talk about. So I am looking forward to those. I'll say this to finish off. I was not expecting to go into the theater and actually see trailers that I hadn't seen.
Yep.
And B, that actually made me be like, oh, you know what? Oh, very good.
Because we rarely see those trailers.
Every time I go to it, so it doesn't help that I go mostly to the theater to see Disney and Marvel movies for the ones that I do want to go see, because I'm part of the problem, not part of the solution. So I end up going and seeing like trailers for other Disney Marvel projects, and you're just like, and how you gonna fuck this one up? And so it was very nice to go to a movie,
not be bitter,
and not have like the biggest thing that I had to sit there and be like, and where's Nicole Kidman?
And there she was.
You gotta steal 30 seconds of my life to say something that you already said.
Ever and always, Al.
Forever and always, I will be like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. All right, folks. So hang on. We're going to jump into our spoiler-free review. And then after that review is done, there'll be a hard out. And that'll be your opportunity, if you don't want to listen to spoilers, to avoid the finale of this show. I am going to put this in here for those of you who are going to stop listening after the spoil-free one. We're probably going to be taking next week off for the July 4th holiday since it's on a weekend. But the following week, we are planning on maybe doing 2 in a row of these watch and reviews with Superman. But we will have to let you know when that time comes. It's looking like it's going to be that way. But anyway, so this is the spoiler-free review, so we hope you enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 165 of Nerdpod Generations. Just coming off of our Watch, Play, Read, we are now doing our initial spoiler-free, just got in the car from watching 28 years later, kind of our review
Mhm.
Once again, this is the spoiler-free. You'll hear the audio change, and we'll make a notification to let you know when we are back in the studio, and we will do a spoiler discussion.
It'll be way better too.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, I think this is still spectacular because
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that we're going to be able to give our direct feel of the film after literally just walking out.
Yeah, well, like we got to do this for another movie last year.
Yeah, I can't remember which one.
I also don't remember which one we did this for. I'm guessing a Marvel movie.
It probably.
So pick a Marvel movie from last year that we deigned to see in theaters. And anyway,
this is much better than a Marvel movie.
my favorite claim about being able to do this, though, is that we're literally in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I got in a traffic accident on that corner. I got beat up in that alley.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I was pulling left into the parking lot to see the Incredible Hulk of all things, and a lady who was on her phone sideswiped me.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. So, but New York is a no-fault state, so, you know.
Yeah, we're good like that.
Yeah.
All right, so folks, so we literally, like we said, we just walked out of, and I mean walk out, the film was done. We just left the screening of 28 Years Later, which is the third in the line from 28 days to 28 weeks to 28 years. And this one is definitely more in line with the first one tonality.
Yeah.
Where the second one, Danny Boyle didn't direct the second one, correct?
No. And in fact, for a little bit there, I wasn't sure if the second one was going to be considered canon while we were watching it. There was a real moment. I don't think as we were watching it, I was like, because I just rewatched both movies.
Yes.
Because I'm insane like that. And God, 28 Weeks Later is such a different movie.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different animal. So it made sense that they would kind of ignore it and be like, you know what, we're going to go back to the way the canon was before we kind of messed with it.
And it was like kind of the American version.
It was very
because
much the American version.
You had Jeremy Renner as the lead, pretty much.
My favorite thing about it, the way that you can show that it's the American version of a British film made by American people with British people, is that you have Rose Byrne and Idris Elba, both British actors, playing Americans.
Yeah. Which is always insane to me.
It's just like, I realized after watching it, I was like, I want to ask Rose Byrne what that experience was like. Because you're shooting in London, and you must feel kind of, you know, if not at home, at least like, acquainted with the surroundings, more so than I could be. Having been in that location, and we'll talk about locations in a bit. The idea that you would have to pretend to be an American and fully drop your accent while filming in the biggest city in the country you're from is kind of hilarious, and also I think a good summary of 28 Weeks Later.
Yes. So, and thank you for summarizing that, because I have watched 28 Days Later. I have not watched 28 Weeks in a very long time.
Yeah.
So I have very sparse memories of that movie.
Yeah.
I do remember the tone, though.
I'll call some stuff out as we go.
Okay.
But, definitely, for sure.
So, going by the title, for those of you who do not know the premise of these are zombie-like. They're not zombies. It's a rage sickness.
Yeah.
That when the infected get you, they bite you, but they're not trying to eat you. They're trying to spread the infection.
Well, sometimes they're trying to eat you.
Sometimes, but it's not like a normal zombie movie where that's their whole focus.
And this is one of the things that they kind of decided to move away from for 28 years later, from 28 Weeks Later, because they kind of they played around with that a little bit in 28 Weeks Later, and kind of muddled it. To the point where what's his face, Robert what's his nuts, who's at the front of that movie, Roger whatever, he was he's in the full Monty, so I just kept on calling him Monty. He becomes like the Jaws for Carlisle, Robert Carlisle. He becomes the Jaws 4 shark of zombies, where throughout the entire thing after he gets infected, he is chasing his children all over this army base, and it turns into mad hijinks from there.
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot of fond memories of that second one.
It's fine. It's like a C+. It's fine.
So anyways, this movie, starts off, we get to meet Aaron Taylor Johnson
Yes.
and his son, Spike,
Yes.
played by a newcomer named Alfie. I can't remember his last name. Kid is amazing. It's his third thing he has on IMDb is this movie.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
I do love a Danny Boyle movie with a character named Spike.
You got it. So it follows Spike's, let's say, coming of age.
Yes.
Where he gets to go to the mainland with his father because they are currently living on an island just off the coast of Scotland.
Yeah.
And they live in this community, which is kind of cult-like.
Yeah.
Like it was.
A little.
There's a weird vibe with this community.
There's like it's so tough. So I went to this country, unbeknownst to me or anybody. Me and Kelly, when we went to England last year, this was one of the places we went to.
Okay.
And we went to Holy Island, which was where that castle was, and it was the stand-in for a lot of their village. Not the stand-in; it was their village. That was the village that they went to. I went down that drive that is connecting them to the mainland. They edited that. That drive is it's not a straight line. It's along a coast. But seeing it here was just, it added a whole other level to everything going on. And so I think the thing that they were going for is kind of, that's the culture of the area. It's not that it's a cult. That's like that's the heritage of that area, is to at least that's the way I read it, was like, these people have kind of regress socially in a way without losing some of their more modern sensibilities. But they have kind of gone back to this, like, I don't want to say tribal, but more English tribal mentality.
I would say that's a good analogy.
I think it really falls into the accordion. I think is a great analogous in this situation, where you have this guy playing the accordion as part of one of the celebrations. And it's like a nice, quote unquote, new accordion. But it also it has the exact feel of, like, you would see this in a Disney cartoon of a guy with like just an old, like, just Wheezebox accordion, just like going along and playing. So like I kind of liked it. I liked the culture that they established there because it was so reminiscent of what I saw when I went.
And it was, I think the cult vibe I got was a lot of just the way he shot their frivolity, let's call it.
Yeah.
Like when they're celebrating, a lot of times when typical people are partying, they can make weird faces and look like they're a little mental. Well, he really focused in on some of them.
Yeah.
And it made it feel, and I know he was trying to make it kind of what Alfie was going on in his head because he was uncomfortable with the situation.
Yes, I think that's also true.
But holy shit,
I think
that was just well shot.
The part of it that made me think of it as a cult, because the part that I agree with, was the masks that they were wearing.
Yes.
Where I was like, I don't know.
Especially that one girl that just kept standing.
That was just standing there wearing one. I was like, what does this mean? Is she being punished? What's happening? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What is this? Is this a celebration? Is this a warning? What does this mean? I don't understand what this means.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree. But again, I kind of also love it for that. I love it for having that element in the film at all. That mysterious, like, it's just people being people, man. It's how people react to a stressful situation.
And you meet in this, so they go on their mission, come back, and you meet Spike's mom, who is not well.
No.
And ends up becoming the catalyst for the second half of this movie.
Yes. What's wrong with Mom is the MacGuffin.
It's pretty much the MacGuffin. And I think I know how I can fix her, and we need to get there.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole basis of this movie.
Yeah.
It did introduce, and I wouldn't say this is a spoiler, there's a new form of infected called the Alphas.
There's an evolution of the infected.
And I like that because it it's what was tried in other like zombie movie, like Zack Snyder tried it in Army of the Dead, and it's this, like you're saying, it's the evolution, and it's not just that they're evolving into bigger, stronger, but smarter.
Yes.
So it's but they're still very. It's almost as if they're evolving from mindless rage monsters to like cavemen.
Yes.
Neanderthal.
There is an actual like call it prescient, call it whatever you want. It reminded me a lot of the Titans in Attack on Titan.
Yes.
Where there's a few different levels of Titan and how they progress and evolve, and different levels, and also the fact that they are buck naked.
Oh, they're very naked.
There's a lot of naked people in this movie, and none of them are attractive because they are all monsters.
Yeah, and that's that's the fun thing. I had mentioned to you how this movie didn't get an NC-17 because of the very brutal violence, but then also the amount of nudity. And it is, there's nothing sexual about any of this nudity.
No, even when you see I don't want to get into it because it's a little bit of a spoiler for the second half of the movie, but there is a certain element introduced in the form of a woman who is in her situation. You could have an entire short film over what happened in this situation. So I fucking, dude, I love this movie.
This movie is fucking awesome.
I fucking, like, we joked last week about, like, oh, what are we going to do? We had 2 in a row. Oh, and we're going to get fat and sassy on this. And dude, we had 3 in a row.
Yeah.
This, I instantly, I'm like, maybe this is the best movie I've seen this year. I don't know.
It is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, because it is quite literally a horror movie, but it is so deep.
Yes.
And so powerful.
It's what great directors and writers do, because this is Danny Boyle and Alex Garland.
Yes. Which
is another way it's more of a sequel to the first one than the second one, is that they produced the second one, they created the first one.
Yes.
And the exact same tandem is back in the exact same regard. So Alex Garland wrote it, and Danny Boyle directed it.
I do have to give a shout out to Anthony Dodd Mantle, who's the cinematographer. Because holy shit.
Yeah.
This movie is stunning.
Oh my God.
The scenery, just some of the shots are there's a scene at the end. I don't want to give anything away, but it's a bunch of pillars.
Yes.
And there's like flames encircling it.
God.
It was so gorgeous. Like, it was so beautiful. The landscapes were amazing. The dirtiness and the way they shot the infected, I loved, where it's, they're in and out of focus.
Yeah.
It depends on how crazed they are. They go out of focus the crazier they get. And it was like, dude.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh my God. Every level of this movie is incredible. I think the best praise I can give to it in terms of my grading is, you hear one of those questions that people have for like parties or whatever as an icebreaker is like, what's the last movie that made you cry? I'm like, I don't know. I have to really think back. I don't know. This made me fucking weep like a baby. Like, I was embarrassed at how much I was weeping during this movie.
And we'll explain to you why.
Yes, in the spoiler
one.
But oh my God, this was one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. It is a horror movie through and through, but at the same time, it is this masterwork of storytelling where the horror is the world that couches the story. And so it becomes just the man versus world element. As it's people, but now there's this, and so I love the world that it builds, and how it doesn't just it's not just about jump scares and spooks. there are some of those. I'm looking at you, Castle Ruins, but
Oh my god.
God, I just love the way that this movie evolves the 28 days later mythology. It still uses some of the 28 weeks later stuff, and we'll get to that again later. But I can't praise this movie enough. This is an incredible film.
Yes.
Absolutely
It
incredible.
really is. And it, like I had mentioned to you, I believe this is supposed to be part of a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 more movies, which the insane ending,
Mm-hmm.
which it is a batshit crazy ending,
Oh my
but an
God.
awesomely batshit crazy ending.
That is like the only part of the movie that I got to, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I can't, I'm not going to deduct you because I kind of love it, but also, what the fuck is this? What is happening?
It's as if they took the heroine from Trainspotting right before they shot the end of the movie.
Oh
It was
my
like,
God.
let's do this, and everyone's like, it's a great idea.
Let's do it.
So it was batshit crazy ending, but man,
It was truly one of the most wild things I've ever seen. I have to start thinking of, because we're not going to talk about what it is until we get to the spoiler part, but I have to start thinking of a comparison to it. You know what? I know exactly what it is. I got one. But anyway, I fucking love this movie.
it's a great movie.
I don't know if in spite of or in part of, but like, I love this movie even with the ending as it is.
See, I'll be honest. After rewatching it, I've officially made Sinners my top movie of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely on that level.
They're both like, they're so close together.
They're just so different.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason I might still side with Sinners is just because of some of the performances, where this was great performances, but the real star to me was just the direction, and the visuals
Yeah.
were just astounding.
Yeah. Oh my
Absolutely astounding.
God. Like, so the spirituality of Sinners is what stands out to me looking back on it, as far as like what makes that movie great.
Mm.
It has a lot of elements that make it great, but I would think the culmination of that is just the spirituality of the film. And here, like, I don't know if it's better than Sinners or the same as Sinners, but like, it's one of those things where like there's like 6 different things that I could call this movie, you know?
Yeah.
And like, but at the same time, I felt that way about Sinners as soon as I walked out of it. I've had a week to reminisce on that. I've had now about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, man. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah. I mean, needless to say, this is an A++ for me.
A plus.
Yeah.
Like this movie lights me up in a way that no movie has in recent memory. So recent, at least, that it like sticks out in my mind of like, oh, you remember how you felt coming out of the theater, feeling like, oh wow. And like, I'm trying not to include like Spider-Man movies, because that's like, the nostalgia quotient for that is off the chain.
Yeah.
So it has to be something like Into the Spider-Verse like level of like, wow, this transcends to art.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, it's an excellent Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. No, but that's a good way to describe it. This is an art film.
Yeah.
It is 1,000%. Now, for those of you who are listening who love just flat out bloody horror movies, this is a very bloody horror movie.
Oh, there's still a fuck ton of violence.
Oh my God. And it's very visceral.
Oh my God.
And it doesn't hide anything, doesn't pull any punches. It is 1,000% just a brutal horror movie.
I don't think that this would count as a spoiler. There are several Predator-esque moments
Yes.
that are more graphic than Predator.
Yes.
That was the reaction we both had sitting in the theater.
Yes.
Was like, holy shit.
It was something, man. It was something.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
This God damn it. This was a brilliant fucking film. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to bring up before we start getting into spoilers.
See, I every time I think of something different, it's going to be spoiler
All right.
filled.
So
this is your warning.
yes.
As soon as you hear this audio cut into the more refined audio,
Yes.
we will be in spoiler territory.
It'll
So be warned.
Deep spoiler territory.
Deep spoiler.
So hang on to your butts.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. So now it is time to talk spoilers for 28 years later.
Oh my god. Where do you even want? Like, I guess the best place to start is the very beginning, which is the Teletubbies, which was very nostalgic for me.
Dude, that was a fucked up
My
scene.
god. Just like parents coming and putting their children in this room and being like, don't leave the room. And as we've seen so many times with these rage monsters, which I think I kind of was watching the beginning of this movie, I was like, should we call them Fecks? Because like that feels like a, like you hear these native tribes to Britain, and like the Pecks and the whatever, and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe the Fecks, they're in the infected, the Infects.
Could be.
Anyway, I just think to get to this point, and they're still just being called the infected, I'm like, there's no one, we don't have a euphemism for these fucking things yet. We can call them alphas, but we haven't figured out a euphemism for that. Anyway, that moment where they're just a bunch of kids in this room sets the tone for like, this is, in case you didn't know, this is what's going on.
Yeah. And what fucked me up about that scene actually wasn't the kids getting killed where you can hear it but not see it. It's as the parents keep coming in and out of the room, the kids are starting to react to what they're hearing.
The older kids especially are starting to realize what's going on. So the younger kids hear the panic and they're just covering their ears, but you can see in the older kids that something is...
They're starting to cry, and it's
like...
deeply
wrong.
That fucked me up. I was like, that is some powerful shit. Yeah. And then the infected come in...
And it's their own parents.
It's your own parents. And you see the TV screen, and all you see is just blood splattering on it, knowing that they're just tearing the kids apart. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Except for one,
Jimmy, who gets away. He goes to see his dad, who's a priest. And it turns out, Dad has gone off the deep end. Yeah.
Oh, this is the rapture.
This is
the great thing.
Safety, servitude. That was a killer cold open.
Yes.
So we go from that to Spike.
Spike and his dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is starting to grow on me. He's doing more of these.
I was about to say, it's interesting because he's getting to that point where he does need to be a little careful. He is getting to that point of like, oh, and you're in this too. Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, I'm not disliking any of the times that he shows up. Whenever he does show up, with the exception of Craven, which wasn't his fault. Let me put it this way. You could put anyone into that movie and it would be the disaster that it was.
Absolutely.
Which is why I also don't blame Ariana DeBose for that movie. How could you? It was a disaster. The only person I think who was stoking the fire was maybe Russell Crowe, who was sitting there kind of with like a fan being like, Yeah, let's see how bad this can be.
He's in paycheck mode.
Yeah. So. Anyway, he was. I really liked him to begin this movie.
And what I appreciate is this might be the first movie of his I've seen where he has not taken his shirt off.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, so he's just this scruffy, dirty father.
He's seen as a sex symbol in the town because of his status.
Yes.
Not because like he's ripped. Mm-hmm. We don't see him walk out and he's going to go get water in the morning and he just walked right out of bed and he's ripped. He's Tyler Durden ripped. And no, like the reason he's beloved in this town is because of what he has accomplished and what he provides.
And him and now his son, they're part of this small group of people that actually go from the island to the mainland to try to find supplies and food and whatnot.
So the funny thing about this is I really did go to this island. This is Holy Island. We really did go there, me and Kelly. We could only spend about an hour there because when the tide comes in, you're stuck. That's it. was so incredible seeing it here. And I really think that was why I loved it so much.
I gotcha.
Why I fell in love with the people there so quickly. Because I was just like, oh. Because that was one of the I always say when telling the story, that was the day that if I could Groundhog Day myself and get stuck in a day, it would have been that day, so we could just get trapped on Holy Island, because it just seems like such an incredible place.
I got you.
And I think they shot a few different elements, because I think the destroyed castle that they hide in, I think that's from parts of Holy Island. I think they shot
kidding.
there too. So it was just, God,
It's so beautiful.
it was so beautiful. It's a beautiful spot and well worth seeing the movie just for that.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, it's just the setting of this incredible story.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then, so you get to see Spike and his father go to the mainland. We get introduced to this new form of infected, the Alpha and his minions, let's call them.
Yeah.
Which are like I said in the spoilers, or in the spoil free, they're kind of like de-evolved into these mindless creatures and then are re-evolving into like a Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Because that's how they act. They still have like interactions between their group. They understand like feelings and stuff.
Yeah. And we see, this is, I think, part of where you see a little bit of that mesh point between 28 days and 28 weeks. Because they really almost completely disregard 28 weeks later, which is a good decision. It is very much a popcorn movie. It is not an art movie. One of the things that they bring up, though, inadvertently, one of the things that they establish, I think is a better way to put it, is that some people keep some level of consciousness while, infected with this thing, enough so that you can hunt down your own children no matter where they go. And so like you kind of get like, you take that and you're like, okay, give that 28 years. And this idea that for some people, not for everybody, but for some people, it turns into this accelerant where it makes them super strong. It makes them basically peak human function. And they can, in many ways, control other infected people.
And it's funny, there is a line in it where Spike is talking to a Swedish military member, and he said, I've heard people say it's like steroids, but I don't know
what that means.
Yeah.
That was, I want to talk about that really quick.
Okay.
Or we can wait until we get to that part of the story.
It's up to you. I'm good either way.
I found Eric such an interesting part of the story.
Yes.
Because it, again, is more evidence that 28 weeks later is maybe not canon. The other element that makes it maybe canon is some of the shots of people running panicked in the street that they flash on the screen over the course of the film. Those are actually from 28 weeks later. So, you're like, okay, yeah, maybe it happened. I don't know. At the end of 28 weeks later, they do this thing where it's like, oh, the kid makes it out alive and he's fine. And then it's like, 28 days later, infected in Paris. And you're like, okay, interesting. So I kind of like that they ignore that.
Yeah.
Because what Eric does here is basically establish, like, there's a world out there. And not only that, it's our world.
Yes.
And so Eric shows up and he has a smartphone and all these other things. And I'm like, you know what? I usually hate this in movies. But I really, really like it.
I do too.
Especially because Eric dies in part because of his reliance on these things. And so it's like the movie being like, hey, you want to see yourself in this world? This is how you would do in this world. And you're dead. And you're fucking dead. And I'm going to carry around the audience's decapitated head. And it's going to be a MacGuffin that keeps coming back in the story.
Oh, it's crazy.
But I like Eric for that. I like that moment where he shows Spike a picture of his girlfriend. And Spike is like, is she having an allergic reaction?
Because she has collagen.
And he's like, no, she's beautiful. And he's like, I don't know. I've seen people on the island have that reaction. And it's not good. It usually starts bad things. And so it's like, I love this idea that like they've just been left there. And you can either die on the island or survive, but there's no getting off the island.
Yep.
And you're just stuck there. And when I say the island, I mean the entirety of the UK.
Yeah.
We see very early on that even Ireland has been affected by this. The entirety of the UK and Ireland is cordoned off and no entry. And so I love just this evolution of like, here's the society. It's the society that was there, but kind of like, evolved and devolved at the same time. They don't have certain amenities. They do have some amenities. And it just takes this shell of the world that's been kind of the center point of all of these movies, where like, 28 Days Later is just a guy wakes up in the shell of a world. And, the world is fully destroyed all around him. And then you find out at the end of the movie, it's not fully destroyed. It's just this one place that got fucking wrecked, which is a great twist.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's a fantastic twist, is when he looks up and he sees the plane. And like, even as you're watching it, you're like, is that real? Is he hallucinating a plane, or is that really a plane? No, that's really a plane. And so this movie has all of the artistic flair that 28 Days Later had.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, kind of on steroids. It has all of this growth that has gone along with that as well.
And I do appreciate, the big thing I appreciate about this movie is they are going down one cliched rabbit hole, which I'm kind of tired of, and they went to a different one, which I appreciate, which they're setting this up to be a father-son movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, yep, this is going to be a father-son movie. This father's teaching his son, and he's, the father's taking care of his wife who's sick and is losing her mind a little bit. And then you find out the dad is a piece of shit who's banging some chick. And so the son ends up leaving with the mother, and it becomes a son-mother movie.
Well, it's like this weird pseudo-tragedy of again, this also reminds me a lot of Attack on Titan, where it's these people living in the shell of a world, and they just kind of presume that this is the case.
Yeah.
And they've given themselves to whatever seems to be true at the moment. And so he sees his wife deteriorating hour to hour. And he's gotten to a point of like, she's effectively dead. She's not my wife anymore. I'm trying to make her as comfortable as possible, but this is a job. I am done. I do not see this as the person I fell in love with. And to the boy, that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, it's to his dad, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
To his son, it's a full-on tragedy.
And from a self-proclaimed mama's boy, it was so much better being a son-mother film than it would have been a father-son.
Yeah.
Because you get the growth of the son in his ability to protect himself and his mother, then you also get the love. Like the just, oh my God.
Yeah.
Brutal, but like he is just so terrified for her, and she's hallucinating and calling him her father, and he doesn't know what's going on, but then she has her lucid moments where they're joking around and making faces at one another, and you're like, dude, this is fucking heartbreaking.
Oh my God.
Beautiful, but heartbreaking.
Just like her, when they're camping out, and her being like, does your dad do this kind of stuff with you? Yeah. And we now have seen how his dad acted when taking his boy on the exact same journey. Yeah. With a different destination in mind. Versus how his mom is approaching the exact same situation. But with, as it turns out, an inoperable brain tumor. Yeah. And just like the dichotomy of those two moments is insane.
But like, it's not even just the like camping moment. It's when she says to him, well, then does he joke around with you in the quiet moments? And he's like, no. And it's like, that's when you need to have that humanity.
Yeah. So God, and then we get to Ralph Fiennes.
Dude, so good. He is so good. Covered in iodine because the infection does not like iodine. So he covers himself head to toe in iodine. Yeah. And he looks spectacular. Like the makeup and the costuming and all that for him is fucking so good.
Ralph Fiennes is one of those actors where sometimes he shows up and you're like, why are you in this? Yeah. And then other times he shows up and you're like, oh,
you're perfect.
This is going to be even better than it already was. And man, he is so fucking good. Yeah. Because like, so we're presented as what happened was when Spike goes out on his manly retreat,
Yes,
to take his first life, because like you have to go and do this whole ritual where you go and you kill an infected, and then you come back. When he goes out on this trip, which proves that his mother is much more kind and gentle later on in the film, he sees a fire, and his dad is like, don't worry about it. And he's like, but what about it? And he's like, drop it. Don't worry about it. So turns out the fire was Ray Fiennes, and Ray Fiennes is a doctor, and he spooked the town people because at one point the town people came to find him to see what was going on with the fire, and he has a bunch of bodies just laid out, and he's just standing next to a giant fire, and he just waves like he's at a barbecue, being like, "Hey, you want to come over and hang out?" And, the down people are like, fuck no.
Yeah.
So they run off. And so Spike, learning this, is like, but we got to take Mom to see the doctor. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is like, no, we fucking don't. That guy's crazy. He was crazy before. He's got to be even crazier now. He's so fucking good in this movie.
Yeah, he's not crazy. He's sane. He's as sane as a person who's been alone for 30 years.
Yeah.
Just with these bones of the people who've died.
Well, he's like, what I love is that he's a scientist.
Yes.
He knows how to keep himself alive in all of this. And so he's also an artist. He's also kind of a monk.
Yes.
A philosophizer. He's this guru. He's amazing.
He really is amazing.
And so when he shows up, you're like, oh boy, here we go. And he's just like, he's Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
He's just sophisticated.
He's so good.
Well-mannered.
And his diagnosis scene of the mother, because not only does it show what kind of a man he is, but it shows how intelligent he is, because it's been 30 years since he's practiced medicine with human beings. And here he is still remembering and doing these basic tests you could do where he comes to the conclusion that she's got cancer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was really fascinating. I loved watching that scene.
Yeah.
Because and not only that, but he's like, are you okay if I touch your armpits and your breasts?
Yeah.
You figure somebody like him who's been away be like, listen, I got to just grab you. But he's still this professional.
He's so sensitive.
And polite and sensitive.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so good.
He's so good. And I just I love when he stops the alpha that's chasing them.
Yeah.
And he has this whole thing. He knows this alpha. He's named him. He's like, okay, Samson, give me your trophy. Because he's ripped the head off of Eric.
Yes.
And who I really do, I just love the feel of this whole movie.
Yeah.
Because, there is this element of, who's going to come and save them, right? And you see this a lot in movies. But, at the same time, it also has, this beautiful moment at, every 20 minutes. There's some beautiful moment, whether it's all these deer running past the house.
Oh, God, yeah.
Or this pregnant infected.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, how long has she been bitten for? She's still wearing clothes. What's going on? The whole delivery scene. Samson showing up. Eric dying. That whole series of events is just crazy.
And during the birth scene, how Spike's mom kneels in front of the infected, and the infected realizes in that moment that she needs help. And so I keep saying,
gives her leverage.
Is Spike's mom, is it Isla?
I think it's Isla.
So Isla kneels down and she puts her hands out to hold the infected's hands, and the infected realizes that and grabs onto her hands. But then what's fascinating is the second the baby's born, the infected passes out, but then when she comes to, she goes into attack mode. And it's like she had that lucid moment and then went right back to being mindless monster. And it was fucking fascinating.
It was such a good movie.
It really is.
It's so incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been a very fun episode, Friends and Enemies.
It's been filled with peaks and valleys and many different recording situations.
So a little quick peek behind the scenes. I got violently sick while we were trying to finish our review of 28 Years Later. But it's such a good movie that we decided to reconvene a few days later and record the actual end
later.
of. Yeah, I know, right? But so I just wanted we were talking about the brilliant performance by Ray Fiennes when I started feeling so queasy that I had to leave my seat.
Yes.
And I just wanted to reassert like that might be my favorite Ray Fiennes performance, maybe since In Bruges. Like it makes everybody thinks of Ray Fiennes and thinks of Voldemort, and like I'm like no. Like, or I guess the Constant Gardener, depending on if you talk to your mom or not. But like I kind of love this performance by him.
Oh, it's so great.
It's so magical. It's so haunting. There's a very real devastation to this guy who's out here living on his own, doing his own thing
For the better part of 30 years living on his own.
Yeah, in total isolation, because the one residence nearby we know doesn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
And he's just been building this art piece. I love that line that he has where he turns to Spike and he's like, you know how many times I've thought about hearing someone ask, what is that?
Yes.
And the answer I would be so excited to give them. And it's just like, as an artist who has been passed over by the public on a lot of fronts, that is a very real feeling of like, oh, somebody asked what it is.
And I appreciate that they took this character and they could have easily made him some kind of a horror movie cliche of the hermit, but they didn't. You know, even though he's been by himself doing taking care of horrific things for 30 years, he's still very lucid. He's still very intelligent. He's not gone crazy. Like it's amazing.
I really thought that was where they were going to go. Is he's going to get to this doctor, and this doctor is going to be even more of a threat than the infected are.
Exactly.
No, this guy he's just this, like, I keep on going back to Monk, but that's what I keep on thinking of, is just this guy who has reached some level of peace and enlightenment when it comes to death and mortality in this world. And now his mission is to pass that on to Spike. And, tears. A beard full of tears during that scene.
That was horrific.
God, just like, and it's so beautiful. There's a haunting quality to it. I think that it makes a lot of sense why they put the giant pile of skulls on the poster. There is a genuinely haunting quality to it, but at the same time, when you stop and see it through Ray Fiennes' eyes, you're like, God, this might be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, and I love that he has that connection with the mother. That she doesn't even necessarily have to tell him, I need my life to end. He just knows the amount of pain she's in and that she will die sooner than later and probably die in more horrific pain. That he just, very silently, they come up with this conclusion and he helps her end her life, which is just haunting.
It's like 3 looks. It's like 3 looks between the two of them while she's holding Spike. And the idea that, like, he knows he needs to sedate Spike first.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to have problems. But, like, God, to go through all of that scene with Eric and then to go through it with Isla is just so touching and moving. And, it's, again, just more the tragedy of this world. Where they don't know if she had breast cancer or brain cancer first. But one could be forgiven for assuming that she had breast cancer that metastasized to her brain. And that's just such a tragic idea, but that's a death sentence in this world.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially after we meet Eric and you're like, God, this world is insane. Like the politics of this world are crazy. So everything with that shot, everything with Isla's final moments, some of the best cinematography I've ever seen.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Absolutely just staggering.
And I had mentioned earlier on when we were talking about it, how there was that shot of the pillars when he is pretty much high on the pain meds that the doc gave him to calm him down, and his mother's dying, and you see the top-down view of the pillars,
Yeah.
and you see the fire circling it, and it's it's kind of spiritual.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
that's
very
the
much so.
best kind of feeling. Like, not religious folks, you know me, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking to spiritual. Like, he was having that, not to steal the words of the great Aaron Rodgers, but he was having like that ayahuasca experience where he's really high and he knows something's wrong, but he sees this beauty around him, and in this, it was so unbelievable.
Aaron Rodgers wishes he could have that experience.
Yes, he does.
He might be a normal human being if he had that experience.
Yeah, that's a long shot.
To me, it was because Ray Fiennes has this whole bit about explaining his heart piece and what he's built here. And when you see that scene and you see all the sparks flying around, the thought that I had was just like, these are the many, many souls that live in this art piece, that are either trapped or held, or in whatever way they exist here. This is where they stay. And God, it was such a beautiful scene. It was just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was a great way to kind of crescendo.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't necessarily the end of the movie, but it was the emotional ending of this movie.
It kind of was. Like, we've been talking the last few weeks about how to end a movie. Specifically when we were looking at Captain America Brave New World and Snow White, and this idea of like, we're not going to have a fight to end the movie, we're going to have a conversation to end the movie. And you kind of get to those moments, you're like, but this doesn't really fit with the tone and feel and everything that you've built here. This doesn't work for me as a way to end the story. I do think that scene with Spike in the art house, for lack of a better term, is the climax of the film, because he doesn't encounter, like, we are sitting here being like, oh, he's going to have to fight Samson on his way back to the island. Samson's going to come up on him and he's going to have to deal with that while holding a baby. No, that's not the story we're telling. The story we're telling is about humanity, not about the struggle for humanity to survive only, but the humanity that remains after and during that struggle. And so this idea that we just see him walk home and we hear his letter to his father and we're like, wow, that is an ending. And then Danny Boyle is like, well,
no, I gotta give you some
feel like we
bad
have
shit.
one more thing we have to do.
Oh my God, fucking insanity.
Insanity. You remember Jim from the very beginning of the movie, the one kid that made it out alive? He's still alive. And he is a Power Ranger, and he has booked an entire group of Power Rangers, and they run around fighting infected, all dressed up in Power Ranger colors. They're all wearing, like, you'd think that they were some like Jersey mobster from the 2000s with their tracksuits.
Oh, it was like, I remember you and I just kind of going, what the fuck is going on? Because you go from that deep, I mean, because if you think about it, you have the mother dying, which was very deep. The letter to the father and the father's reaction was very deep. And then you just go to this batshit crazy part that I was like, what is going on? Like, I had whiplash.
It's just people doing flips, people with bleach blonde hair doing flips in colorful costumes, and they have like homemade spears and swords, and you're just like, what's happening?
I mean, for any of you who've seen The Gentleman, they were all wearing the same kind of tracksuit that
Colin Farrell wears.
Colin Farrell wears, but they're all wearing different colored ones, and it was just fucking crazy.
It was just absolutely bananas. It was the most insane way I've ever seen a film end. It reminded me of, during our non-spoiler review, I was like, I gotta come up with a comparison for this. I don't know, have you watched either of the animated Witcher movies?
Yes.
Okay. Have you watched the Undersea one?
No.
Okay. That's the thing that it reminded me of. Loyal listeners from last year will remember that I watched this and was shocked when it fully devolved into The Little Mermaid at one point.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
And just being like, we were going along having a great time, and then this happened, and now I don't know. And I think that this came close to that. That did end up costing that Witcher movie a half letter grade in the end, because I was like, what the fuck was that? Here, no demarks, just a few questions, sure. But even then, they tee it up because Spike has a Power Ranger at home, which I like to think was his dad's.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'll say about that is I don't think that version of the Power Rangers was around in 2002 when the world ended. I think
That'd be interesting to look into.
Granted, I did not watch Power Rangers, so this is just me merely viewing from the internet as a peanut gallery.
Yeah.
And being like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that version of the Power Rangers was around in 2002. But, I also didn't watch Power Rangers because it had black magic in it.
Well, I mean, you think about it. The OG show, I believe, was 92, 93, because I know I was still in high school when it came out.
Yeah.
So, maybe 10 years later, that was a...
Maybe that was where they were at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, what I'm thinking this ending is him saying... Okay, the heavy stuff is out of the way. This next movie's going to have a tonal change. Because really you got all that drama pretty much done, other than the father has not been finalized. But it definitely was a tonal shift, and it's like, okay, this is rolling into the next movie with this tone now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and we were discussing it in the theater, and you brought up that Cillian Murphy might be in the next two, or is in the next two, because he was a producer on this. And it, again, it just sparks so many different ideas. At the way 28 Days Later ends is with them flagging a plane down. Mm-hmm. But now we know that plane never would have landed to pick them up.
That's true.
Because if it did, it would not have had anywhere to go back to, because no country would have accepted them.
Yep.
So it's just like, so he's still on the island. Him and I think her name was Naomi or something. Oh no, she's played by Naomi Harris. I don't remember her name, but they're still on the island somewhere. They can still show up at any time.
Oh yeah.
I think it will be confusing because his name was also Jim. So if he meets Power Ranger Jim, we're going to have to come up with some kind of naming convention to tell the two of them apart. Mm-hmm. But God, what a way to end the movie!
Oh, so good.
That was like just so fucking batshit. And it does make me excited because they've established a really interesting world.
Yes.
They went through, they audited their canon. 28 weeks later starts, and they're like, oh, if you just wait a month, all of the infected starve to death.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's easy then. No, we're getting rid of that. That is no longer part of the canon. We have moved on to a new thing. And I really want to see the world that they build with all these new rules and concepts that they've thrown in there. I think that this is going to be a lot of fun, even if it doesn't necessarily always hang on this artistic tone of the actuality of humanity. As long as it's a better action movie than Sunshine, which is still a good action movie, I just really don't like the ending to that movie.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, fingers crossed. I'm hoping. I mean, they are off to a good start. So
yeah. Oh my God, an incredible start.
They just need to stick to landing. If they stick to landing, this will be a great ending to. This will break that current tradition, I should say, of people trying to reboot old franchises. Because once again, barely any have worked. Blade Runner is one of the few exceptions. But now you have this, which has been. Since 20, has it been 28 years since 28 Weeks Later?
It has not yet been 28 years since.
But it's been close, like it's in the ballpark.
Yeah, I think we're technically at like 25 or something, 23, 25, something like that.
But I mean, that's a huge space for it to be this good and this successful.
Well, and it also, going back to Blade Runner, it makes you this gives us a second point of information that we can use when determining what makes a good reboot versus a bad reboot. What do this and Blade Runner do so effectively that other reboots don't do? They are not here simply to coast on the original or to try and recapture the original. They are full-on evolutions of the original.
That's true.
2049 says, okay, So that's how Blade Runner ended. Now we're going to fast forward and see what happens in that amount of time. But this is not just about Deckard or anything. We're going to look forward to see what it is, and everything feels like a natural evolution of the world that we see in Blade Runner. This is the same thing for 28 Days Later. This is a natural evolution of that story, of that world, of that mythos. And honestly, even if they make 2 more movies and they're lackluster, this movie is so good at this point, in this moment right now, I don't even care. I'm just glad to have this movie.
That's true. And I'll take it as a standalone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, I honestly, if this is their vision, I would find it would have to be really, really, really bad to blow this.
Yeah. I know. I agree. See, that's why I reference Sunshine, because Sunshine is such a great movie until the last 20 minutes. We've talked about it on the show way back when we first started the show. But man, when you find out that the monster is just some weird person on this other ship, you're like, that's such a bummer. I wanted so much more than that. And so as long as it doesn't turn out that there's some, stupid twist at the end of all of this, and you're like, oh, really? Okay. Really? So, just keep going with the Attack on Titan path. Keep going down the gruesomeness of humanity.
Yeah.
And explore what this world means now.
I don't know. I'm excited. Fingers crossed. All right, folks. Well, that was NerdPod Generations, episode 165 in many pieces. And we have Frankenstein together, what I think is a pretty damn good show.
I was just thinking, we have Del Toro Frankenstein this and stitched it all together.
Oh, we have. And just remember, folks, next week we're going to have off for the holiday, but we will be coming back, fingers crossed, hopefully, for another watch and react with the new James Gunn Superman movie. Just stand by, and we will let you know what happens there. But anyways, NerdPod Generations 165 is in the books. Make sure you go to nerdpodgen.com. There are links to Spotify podcast, Apple Podcast, YouTube. There's some personal links for our different projects that we do on the side. And Al, who does our artwork and music?
Our art is by Kortney Howell. Our music is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly. I am Alfred Judson, no longer feeling terribly sick.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'm Steve Taylor. Happy 4th, everyone. And we'll see you when we see you.
We'll remember the better parts of this world and not celebrate the bad ones.
Yes, sir.
Have a good week, friends and enemies.
All right, bye.